Hello everyone, Reggie Time here with Simon. Simon's did a video of me last week, and some of you will have seen it and noted that Simon's audio wasn't captured because I'm a boomer. So me and Simon had a lovely chat last week, and none of you lot got to hear it. Simon sent me some hands this week from he's played some AAA Snap, and yeah, we're going to look at them in the same format I'm looking at on my other video series, where we look at the hand, then we'll whack it in GTO Wizard, and we'll see what that thinks. How are you, Simon?
I'm very well, sir. How are you?
I was all right until I saw that you're apparently about to open 87 off from the cutoff.
Absolutely loose. I will take that. Yeah, I knew you were going to comment on that as soon as this one was in. It is a loose open. I agree.
It's a fucking terrible open.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Well, with this one, this is. I went back and looked at it afterwards and realised that that is definitely not an open. So it's just me being a little bit. Too loose open.
But again, you should know this. You know, there's no excuse for you to not know your ranges now. It's 2023 and ranges are everywhere.
Yeah.
This is like this. You know, this is like inexcusable. This I don't want to kick off with a bollocking, but it is literally inexcusable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm half hoping you're going to lose this pot. Because fuck you for opening something that shouldn't be open. I mean, I think there's going to be no point in reviewing this in GTO. So you say, yeah, it's non-existent, open, fuck off. So this one won't be reviewed in GTO Wizard, actually, because it just won't let you. It'll be like, what are you doing opening that? Grow up, move along. But we'll look at it anyway, because we're here now. So we have opened. We've got someone who's clearly a fish calling in the big blind. And we've flopped an open ender. Check. I'm presuming you're going to bet here. What's your thoughts?
I think I'll probably check back here, to be honest with you. At this stage, you can range bet obviously with the queen, and I've obviously got good equity. But I wouldn't be surprised to see me check this back.
I think if you're going to open these hands, which you shouldn't, and then you're going to flop equity, if you then check back, then maybe just turn the computer off, reboot it, and start again.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know, because like this isn't an open, then you flopped equity, and then you wanted to check it back when you've got no showdown value. It's none of that makes any sense, buddy. Let's see what you actually did. You did check back. Yeah, do you see how though? Like, I mean, we just got no showdown value, but we do have reasonable equity. We've got like 30% equity. I mean, that's a classic bet spot.
Yeah.
No showdown value, but have equity. Let's have a little bet. That would be my take on it, anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that looking back at it again, there's definitely I should be betting there. There's doubt about that.
And I think like sizing wise here, you could probably use a few different sizes. It's a relatively dry, but there's straight draws galore in there. There's no flush draws, so I personally would probably just hit the 1/3 pot button. But I think you could get away with going 2/3 pot here, and probably checking a little bit too. But nevertheless, I think just having opened this hand, just try to take it down now. Probably isn't a bad idea with 8 high, but we didn't. We checked back, turned the nuts, and now villain bets big. So what's your thoughts now?
I think it'd be good to raise here. We can call. I think both is fine. But we probably want to build a pot here, don't we?
So what do you think villain's rage is like when he takes this action?
It could be anything with this guy. I mean, we don't know anything about him at all, do we? But I suppose. Because a lot of people will just stab, won't they? In a pot that's been checked back on the flop, will just stab any card. But I mean, he will have some Queen X, potentially some 9X, and possibly even the 5. He thinks he's ahead when he hits the 5, where I've checked back on the flop. So if we raise, do we take him off that? I don't know.
My take on it
is here as well.
He's made a relatively large bet.
Yeah.
Quite often here, when people probe turns, you normally see them just doing it for like a smallish size. So when he goes bigger, it's meant to be like a bit more polarized, not massively polarized, because overbet would be polarized. But I don't think people, especially these types of players, who if we presume is a fish, are very good at doing that right. And I suspect he's likely just got an above average hand strength here, be it 2 pairs, be it a set, maybe even if we're really lucky. A good pair, etc. So I think I would raise versus this because I expect him to have quite a few strong hands in his range for using this size.
Yeah.
You could argue that because he's made a large bet, we don't want to raise. We just call and then let him do it again in the river. But this pot's quite small and we've got the nuts.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to take a chance that he's going to fold here, and I'm going to try and build the pot and just hope he's in two pair territory, hope he's in set territory, hope he's in flush draw territory. Hope he's got something that can call. I expect to get called quite often here if we make a raise. I'd probably make this like somewhere in the region of like 15 bigs, I reckon,
Yeah.
and just hoping to get called.
Yeah.
We went with a raise. Willen did call, which is nice, so I like that. And that river's kind of spoiling things a bit.
It's not nice, but I think here that I still think I'm ahead a lot of the time, but we don't know, do we?
Well, the thing is, we might still be ahead a lot of the time, but a lot of the value that we could have got from two pairs and sets has now just evaporated, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Like top pair too. So a lot of the hands that bet call that turn aren't going to be that interested in putting money in the river, and the ones that are going to be ones that we tie with or ones that we lose to. So let's see what he does. He checks as you would expect him to.
Yeah.
So what size are we going now with our bet?
I think it's got to be fairly small because we're going to hate raises and we're going to fold to raises, aren't we? I think so. Third pot maybe here.
I'm trying to think. I would have got if it wasn't a blue 8. I'm looking at the SPR, and I'd been like my side would have been all in, but we can't really do that now.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably go in the 2/3 to 3/4 pot region. I think because they're not classed as big bets these days. Like if you'd have asked me 2 months ago, is if we bet 3/4 pot, is it a big bet? I'd have been like, yeah, that's a big bet. But they're not really classed as big. That's 3/4 pot, 75%. They're not big bets because now there's like two different overbet sizes. There's like people are going 125, people are going 175, people are even going like 3x pot all in. So when you've got all them now as your big bets, then I think your 60% and 75% then become small bets. So I think you're really small bet here, the 30% you're talking about. I'd probably reserve that for when I had maybe like sets.
Okay.
And then straights, I'd probably go 60 to 75%. And then flushes, I'd be going with over bet. So I think personally here, I would go probably around 18 to 20 bigs, around 2/3 pot. But yeah, I understand why you want to go small. It's just like the definitions of what small bets are now, and what medium-sized bets, what big bets are, is kind of changing. That's shifting a bit now because over bets are so prevalent that 75% is no longer like it's more of a medium-sized bet now than a big bet.
With his stack size, if you bet 18 and he jams, do you call? You priced into call? Because I don't know if that makes a difference to choosing the size on the river as well, because he's got 58 behind. If you put 18 in and he jams, you got to call off 40, haven't you?
Yeah, I think I'd probably bet fold versus check raise. That's why I don't want to go bigger than that. That's why I wouldn't want to go pot or a bit bigger.
Yeah.
Because if we bet and he jams, we'd probably chop or lose. And that's not a scenario we want to put ourselves into. But I would go about 2/3 pot here and just expect call or fold most of the time from Willen. You did go with half pot, which is more than reasonable in my opinion.
Yeah.
Willen folds, and there we go. So I'm not really sure why you put that one in, other than to show off your impressive skills of winning with hands that aren't an open.
No, I don't know. I think in the past I would have checked that back so many times.
I think bet folds the line because he's still going to have to call this size with two pairs and sets.
Yeah,
he can't just fold to half pot with two pairs and sets here because he's just getting too good of a price. So let's move on to the next one. King Queen suited. We have a raise from a reggish looking player under the gun in the big blind. I suspect here we're mostly calling, but probably can do a little bit of 3-betting, but I think mostly calling.
For me, I'm calling pure here. I think I don't think I ever 3-bet this hand. Against one player here. I'm not trying to isolate anyone. I just want to call and take a flop.
Yeah, the thing I would look at here, we haven't got a sample size, is that this player's, like, if he was a 33% over a big sample under the gun, then I would be contemplating 3-betting this, because he's fine, he's opened under the gun, but if he's opening incorrect ranges, then he's opening incorrect ranges, isn't he? If he's basically opening, if he genuinely was, and I don't think this guy will be given his overall stats of 22-18, but if somebody is opening 33% from any position, I think King Queen then can become a 3-bet or a call. That's the only reason I kind of mentioned that. Typically versus under the gun, against this like 19% range here or whatever, I'd be probably playing call only too. We do call. We flop ourselves a top pair. I'm not going to give you the option to do anything other than check here, because that's the only thing that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Which is what you do. Villain bets 40%. Take it away.
Yeah, I'll just be calling here. I don't. I mean, I don't particularly want to raise here. He can always have king. He's open from under the gun. He's got everything here. He's got aces, kings, ace, king. I think it's just cool.
Yep, I think there's nothing else to do here other than call 2. Turn 6. Presumably we're still just checking for all the reasons you mentioned why we weren't raising.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything here.
Villain now does this. So how do you interpret this?
One of two ways, really. In some respects, it seems weak, but I think we're using your HUD here. I don't think I had as many as 86 hands on him. I think probably a lot less. Didn't know much about the guy. Looking back, I think we could possibly build some raises in here, but again, I think most of the time I'm just calling here.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to raise. I mean, this is weird.
Yeah.
I suspect it is maybe weakish.
It felt a bit milky at the time. I don't know why. A bit like, I don't know. It's almost like he doesn't want me to fold. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, my interpretation of this is either, like you said, he doesn't want you to fold, and he's just making a really shit value bet with a 9x or something on kings full or whatever, or he's just got a hand like pocket jacks.
Yeah.
It's just like wanting to bet this size in position on the turn to check back the river.
Yeah.
I think it's likely to be one of those two. Either way, it's shit. It's really bad. This shouldn't be happening. Yeah, this is just not good. We call. River deuce, we obviously check again. And now he bets 1/3 again. I mean, his line here is fucking atrocious.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about that. I don't give a fuck. This guy might be good, he might not be. I suspect he's not going to be doing this. But like, C-bet 40%, then double barrel 1/3 in position. I mean, if he's got a value hand here, if he's got like an overpair like aces or something, if he's got ace king, if he's got a 9, this is all fucking awful. And what he could potentially be doing is falling into a trap that lots of shit players fall into, which is, I don't want my opponent to fold, so I'm just going to bet small to make sure I get a call. Yeah. Which you absolutely should not be fucking doing. It's shit. Too many players worry about, or if you bet too big, they might fold. That's not really the issue. Just, if you've got a big hand, just fucking make big bets and let them decide when they're going to call or not. I think we have no option here but just call.
Yeah, I mean, the reason this hand's in here is because I was really, I did feel that along the way with this hand is I was just really borderline as whether I should be putting in any raises here. And I still don't think I should be. I think it's just a cool down.
Yeah, I think it's just a call. I think you're going to get straight A's for this when we look at it.
Yeah.
But if we looked at it from Villain's perspective, he would not be getting straight A's.
No.
So we did call. I mean, yeah, that's just awful from him.
Mm.
He's obviously terrified of the 9.
Yeah.
He just needs to, maybe he could check back the turn, and maybe he can just, blast the river.
Yeah.
If he wants to play it this way, if he is like, okay, I don't really have a 3-street hand for big bets, fine, take a street off.
Yeah.
It gives you a chance to probe the river. It gives you a chance to lead into him with the worst hand on the river. Gives you a chance to bluff. Yeah, I'm not at all surprised to see him have this type of hand, because it felt like either an underpair or a big hand that was scared you were going to fold.
Yeah.
And this is just somebody who doesn't know what they're doing.
No.
Basically what this is. It's just a really bad line from villain. But I think we're going to get straight A's, but let's have a look. Yep, so you've got 2 ticks the whole way,
Yeah.
which we're not surprised at. So yeah, there's not much to look at really. But what I do want to look at is what villain's line should be.
Yeah.
From villain's perspective. Because this would be a good lesson for people who are watching this who do the same thing that villain just did. So from his perspective, under the guns, flop. Come on, stop being a prick. Why is it doing this? Under the guns betting range here is usually 1/3. So it's the most used size. And aces is specifically 1/3 with a little bit of 50%. So he's nailed the flop. He went 40, happy with that. Turn, which is one I was most interested in, with his aces, he should be checking 20% and using all these different sizes, but half's his smallest. He actually downsized to third, which you do 1.2% of the time, which is basically we never do it. And he should be using half, 75%, and even some overbet.
Yeah.
I guess because big blind has probably a decent 9x advantage, it doesn't favour the overbet. If this was like King 9-3, I imagine overbet would be the favoured size. But because of the 9x advantage big blind has, probably why it is just going with these small to with these like medium size more often than 75 and 50. And then river as played, he should be just absolutely bashing the shit out of the big bets. So this is more of a lesson for all of us, but especially for people who watch my channel and would do similar to him. That the whole I'm scared they're going to fold if I bet too big. Theory doesn't give a fuck about that. Theory's just like big fucking bet.
It's missed a bit of value there because I call larger there as well. So
well, that's played. If he does use this overbet size, let's plumb that in for him. If he does go with that, what are you meant to do with King Queen? I imagine you're meant to call it King Queen suited. Our particular combo is mixing between call and fold here.
Yeah.
50% call, 43% fold, with a tiny bit of all in, which is fucking mental. But there you go. That's GTO for you. But yeah, I mean, just even versus overbet, you're meant to call this, half the time.
Yeah.
And I imagine that in the pools we play in, that half the time goes up to 60, 65, 70% maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, he's basically absolutely butchered it. And it's something I'm doing a little bit of work with a gentleman from America to speak to him on Sundays, and we had this exact conversation on Sunday night where he wasn't really betting big enough with good hands because he was like more inclined to get the call rather than win the biggest pot he could. So we had the conversation about winning bigger pots less frequently is higher EV than winning smaller pots more frequently. And this is a trap this guy's absolutely fallen into here.
Yeah.
He's just been too scared to bet his hand properly. And he deservedly didn't get as much money as he should.
Yeah.
So you played it perfectly. He played it very, very poorly, in my opinion. On to the next one. 2 4s. Open from the cutoff. Call there. We're always just calling here. Don't think there's any squeezing of this hand ever. Oh, interesting. Flop a set on a monotone board. That is juicy. So it's going to go check, check. He's not guaranteed to bet. He does have a 62% C-bet multi-way, which is a bit on the high side, but small sample.
That wasn't. I don't think that was that stat, was it? When you hovered over it. So
that's one when soft. Oh no, I've taken multi-way C-bet out.
Yeah.
Because I've replaced it with some other stuff. So yes, you are correct. That wasn't the correct stat. So shut the fuck up, Reg, and thank you for pointing that out to me. So he checks back. Unsurprisingly, this one we're not going to be any views when GTO was, by the way, because it's multi-way, isn't it? So this is just me and you figuring this shit out for ourselves.
Yeah.
Turn, check. So what do you think we should do now?
I'm going to have a bet here. I think a lot of the time, nothing too big. I think maybe 2/3 pot here. I mean, I know that's bigger, but I I think 2/3 pot here is fine. I'm obviously not, potentially going to get raised, but I'm not sure I'm folding dependent on size. So I'd like to see myself bet here.
I don't think there's much chance you're going to get raised.
No.
I think if villain 5 has a flush, he's leading it himself on the turn.
Mhm.
I think if villain 12 has a flush, he's betting it on the flop. If he had a set of 9s, he's betting it on the flop. Probably see betting kings at a decent clip too.
Yeah.
With or without a heart. So I just think we've got the nuts here personally.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. We probably can't go too big because it is monotone. Yeah, I quite like your idea of going 2/3 pot here. I could get behind just going 1/3 pot too. We end up going with half pot,
Yeah.
which yeah, no issue with that. Villain calls, he folds. River ace. So what's our river size?
In my head, and I could be totally off here, I quite like overbet here. I don't know why. I don't know if I think the ace probably catches him up. It might be a scare card for him, but he opened. We're ahead of some of that. I think there's value in overbetting there. I could be completely off.
No, I'm torn between small overbet, like 125%, and 75%.
Yeah.
And depending on which way the wind's blowing, I could do either. So yeah, as long as it's like a chunky-ish bet, it's all good. We went with 3/4 or thereabouts. Villain folds, yeah, fine. So what do you think your issue was with that one? Why do you think that one's been marked?
I'm not even sure actually, Reg. To be fair, I think I don't. No, I think I've done all right there. I don't know why I've marked that one. That is a bit of a strange one. I don't think there was an issue there. I've attempted to get value out of it.
I'm guessing you were just like questioning your like whether we should be guessing just like sizes more than anything because when it checks through, it's obviously going to be bet on that run out. So I guess you were just maybe wondering about were you sizing okay? Should you gone bigger? Should you gone smaller?
And also if there's any flop bets, but I don't think there is with it.
No,
So I don't think so.
I wouldn't have thought so.
No, I mean we check a lot of monotones, don't we? I mean, there's very few bets on.
Well, we just check full stop in this spot because it's we're not the pre-flop raiser and it's multi-way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if there's a proper fish in the pot, instead I'd flop the nut flush here and say villain 5 was a whale. Then I wouldn't. I would donk then because it's too likely villain 12 is going to check back. So there's some scenarios where I would lead with strong hands, but it usually involves there being a massive fish in the pot, and I want to start building the pot quickly. This wasn't the scenario here. We've got this guy who looks like a bit of a reg. This guy who God knows what he is, but he's certainly not like an absolute whopper. So I think we just play the bog standard line. But if this guy was like a 75 V pip, then and I'd flop say the nut flush with ace 5 of hearts or something, then I think I will probably just start betting the flop.
Are we folding to raises here, dependent on size? I mean, if villain 12 raises that bet, I don't know if I'd struggle to get away from that. I mean, the only thing he beats us with is his flushes, I believe. Well, unless he's got pocket aces, of course, which he could have, I guess. But I think we'd have heard from him before with pocket aces.
I think with the ace coming on the river, if he raises, I'd be less happy.
Yeah.
If the river was a break and he raised, then I'd be more happy calling because he might be having like the naked ace of hearts that he's having a bluff with, knowing that we can't have the nuts. But when the ace comes on the river, if he has got a naked, say he's got ace queen off with the ace of hearts, he doesn't need to bluff it anymore versus our size. So I think he would just call.
Yeah.
So I think on the ace river specifically, I'd be unhappy calling raises. But if that was say a 8 offsuit 8 river and we led this size and he raised, I'd be more inclined to call. But not against the ace because his most likely bluffs are going to be the ace of hearts when he raises a river, and he all of a sudden now he's hit the ace. He doesn't need to raise the ace of hearts anymore because he's just got showdown value.
Okay.
So that'd be my way of looking at that.
Yeah.
Ace-7
Oh,
off.
I think this could be a nonsense. This one.
We open, which is obviously completely standard. Small blind calls. He folds. So we are going to be able to view this one at least.
Yeah.
5-6-3 rainbow. Villain checks. What do you think?
I'm checking this all the time. I could be wrong here, but it's not my board. I think it's a check.
Yeah, I think I'd mostly check this too. I think the fact we've got a good shot means we maybe can have a little bet. Villains call small blind, which historically has been like, that's pretty shit, you shouldn't be doing that. It's becoming more of a thing now, even at micro stakes. I'm seeing micro stakes ranges that have small blind flats in them. So I think there is a chance here that Villain isn't a moron. In the past, you see a small blind flat, you think straight away your attitude was, oh, this guy's shit. But maybe he's not shit. I think I can get behind. I think mostly checking here, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of betting just because we have the gut shot. But yeah, I can get fully behind check, which what we do. Turn a pair. Villain bets pot.
Mm.
So now what are you thinking?
I'm not loving it. Obviously, he can have pocket fours in his range here. He can have 8-9. But we do have top pair, top kicker. I don't know. I don't know. I think I call here. I don't know if that's shit or not, really.
I feel uncomfortable already
Yeah,
because Villain, if he is flatting pocket pairs from the small blind, he's got 4 sets here in his
yeah,
range
yeah,
because probably none of them 3-bet. He also has pocket fours, which is a straight.
yeah,
8-9 suited, I think, is a bit less likely
yeah,
for to be in a small blind flatting range. Same you could say for 6-7 suited and 5-6 suited, but there's loads of hands he can have here that just have us drawing very close to dead. We're
yeah,
dead against sets,
yeah,
apart from like chop outs. We're dead against straights, apart from chop outs. Personally, I would just fold here. Whether Solver will like that, I don't know. But I would just fold here now because we cannot improve.
yeah,
Well, we can improve to like trips or 2 pairs, but we can't improve past his value
yeah,
very often at all, unless he's like just potting here with a hand like pocket nines, pocket eights, pocket tens,
yeah.
which wouldn't be good if he was. So I wouldn't hit fold here, but I suspect there's going to be some calling.
I think I call here. Yeah.
And then river is a 6. Yeah, this is now just a very, very easy fold. I think if you call here, you're setting money on fire.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain I will fold here, but it's me, so there's always a chance to be called a cunt.
Well, let's hope you're not going to be a cunt this time. No, I think the question for this hand is, do we ever see bet flop? I think we probably do, but at very low frequency.
Yeah,
And I think turn, can we just fold immediately facing a pot-sized bet? Whether theory says we can or not, I think we can in reality.
yeah.
But theory might say no, you can't. But we're going to find out. So we got a tick for this. So obviously it's calling the turn at some frequency. We didn't get 2 ticks. It's calling the turn at full frequency. It flopped where we only get 1 tick,
Yeah.
which means there had to be some betting. Pre-flop's obviously great. Flop means that we only got 1 tick, so it means it favours betting, favours calling turn, and the river. I guess it's mixing some folds in there, mixing some calls in because we folded, so we got a tick, but it must be mixing some calls in too.
Which surprises me, to be honest.
Well, let's have a look at the frequencies. So which we know that's fine. Flop, check. Yeah,
It
it's
likes a
checking.
big of it.
So it's actually favouring betting way over checking.
Mm.
It's probably because we have quite, like, in general, our range has quite a big advantage here. We used to have like aces, kings, queens, etc. And if he's flatting pocket pairs, they just can't fold.
Yeah.
If he has flatted, say, pocket sevens, pocket eights here, and we've got aces, kings, queens, we are going to want to make big bets with that hand. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a mistake checking this exact hand, but I think because we have a little bit of equity and because we have like such a big range advantage, I think it's why it favours betting.
Okay. Yeah.
Turn. Yeah, it's actually not favouring for any fault at all in the turn. So I'm way off there. I'd have got a blunder here because I'd have been like, right, I'm folding. So I'd have been in this territory here. But you see the EV difference between calling and folding and raising isn't very much. It
Yeah.
means it's a really close spot. So the solver is close to being indifferent here. And that's against itself, where this is going to be finding an appropriate number of bluffs for this size. I imagine if we just changed his range slightly to be slightly more value heavy, and some of the bluffs that this has that we don't think our usual opponents have. So let's see what his bluffs are here for this turn bet. So it's classing it as an overbet here because it doesn't have pot in its range.
Mm-hmm.
So villain here is. So we need to go in this one. Sorry. Villain here has chose this size, which is not a thing in theory, but in practice it is. But when he does shoot, yeah, well, we don't actually fucking know.
No.
Because he's not meant to fucking have it,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So we'll go with 75% because he's got more hands in that range. So do we think our opponents are having these hands in their range, like ace 9, ace 10 for potting it?
Not a chance.
Do we think they have them?
No, not no.
I don't think so either. Do we think like they've got 4s, maybe 8s, maybe 9s, maybe 10-9? I just think like because it's got a few of these hands that our opponents wouldn't have. Like I don't think they have ace 8. So you take just a few of these out, like queen 9. I guess that's only diamonds that's doing it. I think just take just a few of those hands out.
Yeah.
And it'll push you to be in like where it's everything's like neutral EV or worse. So I'm happy with my decision to fold on this turn because if it's like really close to being indifferent here against like a range that's going to have an appropriate number of bluffs in it, then if we're playing against people who don't have an appropriate number of bluffs in their ranges, and we know over the long term they don't, and anything that's this close in theory for me is just it's a happy folding practice.
Is it because we've got the ace of diamonds that it likes the call there? I mean, I'd be interested to know if you know, because we're blocking some of the flush.
I think that the relevance of the ace of diamonds for us is that it takes some of his bluffs away.
Yeah.
Because he now can't have the ace of diamonds to be bluffing with.
And that's what I mean about is that why it's more of a call in this spot?
Well, I'm not sure because I think it would be. Does it not reduce the number of his bluffs he can have?
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know, mate. It's a good question. Let me have a think. So if we didn't have the ace of diamonds, I think it'd be more of a call without the ace of diamonds. Because that would head of some nut flush draws till then, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think maybe if we had like the ace of spades instead, what's your suit that's not there? If we had like ace 7 of hearts here, maybe it's more of a call because he can then have more ace X suited in his range. It's just like, okay, well I've got like the nut flush draw myself. Or he can just have the naked ace of diamonds that he's deciding he just wants to like bet and bluff on the diamond. I don't know, mate. It's a good question.
Yeah.
I think like I'd be more inclined to call if I didn't have the ace of diamonds. But to be fair, it wouldn't. I'd just fold this spot full stop because we can see here how close it is. We're not making a lot of money against someone who's bluffing appropriately. So against people who aren't, this then, in my opinion, becomes a losing call.
Yeah.
So happy days. But you didn't make a mistake. Theoretically, you didn't make a mistake. And then River, it's saying calling makes money here. Maybe it does.
Yeah, I don't think in the games we play, maybe.
No, I mean, it probably, if he's like half decent, he should know if he's using this side, he can have quite a lot of bluffs for this size. But I suspect he's not. Yeah, this is like in theory, this is like this fold isn't losing money because it's like neutral EV when we fold, obviously, but it's saying we make money by calling. So we've definitely lost EV here in theory. How much EV have we lost in practice? Maybe a little bit, but not enough for me to be concerned. I certainly wouldn't be changing my strategy here based on what I've learned from this here. I'd be like, okay, as far as that goes, I played that quite well. Have I slightly overfolded? Maybe, because like the river doesn't change anything because he shouldn't be betting any sixes on the turn. So the river's a brick, really.
Yeah.
So because the river's a brick, that's probably why it's like, well, if I call, I probably need to call again here. But yeah, I don't like the call here.
But like you say, we're behind so much of his. He's got all the sets, isn't he? He's got which are now boats.
Yeah.
We just. I didn't see. I didn't see how a pair of sevens was winning that for a pot size bet.
No, I mean, I guess his bluffs are going to be stuff like 10-9. That 10-9 of diamonds would make a reasonable bluff here, I guess.
Yeah, but in this pool is a player's making that bluff with 10-9. I don't.
Yeah, some will be. I mean, if I was villain here, I would have bet the turn,
Yeah.
and I would absolutely bluff this river.
Yeah.
And there's players more aggressive than me. So
Yeah.
some are, but many aren't. It's more often than not, they're not finding it. But that seems like a really natural bluff here to me. And then you could put, say, 10 jack of diamonds, queen jack. Depends how wide he's flatting the small blind. If he's flatting like 8-9 of diamonds, 10-9 of diamonds, jack 10, queen jack, all those diamond combinations, then I can see why this might shift to a call. Because he's going to be incentivized to bluff them on the turn on a board where we've checked back and he does have a range advantage, you'd imagine, or a nut advantage at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see why this might be a call because he can definitely have some missed draws in his range. But I think I would just lean to overfolding the turn and not giving a fuck, frankly.
Okay.
But had I called the turn, I could see a world where I did decide, well, I have to call this river probably because we're ahead of all these like turn bluffs, like his like I said, all the suited connectors from like 10-9. I mean, if we're saying he's got 8-9 down his range, 10-9, Jack 10, Queen Jack. He's probably got King Jack in there sometimes, King Queen. Who knows? He can maybe have 6 or 7 missed flush draws here.
Yeah.
But then again, he's still potted it, and he's still got loads of value combos. So maybe it's still a fold, even if he is finding all those flushes. Maybe he missed flush draws. Maybe for this size, he needs to find even more bluffs than that. Maybe it's just not enough. If he's always using this with his like straights and full houses, and all of a sudden him just having nine bluffs probably isn't enough. Because he's got way more than 27 value combos here, you'd imagine. Has he? Has he got way more than 27? I could be talking out my ass there. He's got 1 combo pocket sixes. No, maybe not. Maybe if we think he's doing this with maybe 6 or 7 missed flush draws, maybe we do just have to call. But it's such a close point, such a close spot. I'm not that fucking bothered. This isn't where you're going to be like making or hemorrhaging a load of money because it's like such a close spot.
Yeah.
It's not such a big deal if you just decide that I'm always going to fold here. It's not such a big deal.
Okay, fair enough.
Next hand is queen suited. So we have what looks like a relatively tight reg opening. He's got a bad reg as well. Look at these positional stats. He should have formed better by now. He's like 32% of the gun, 16 middle position, 24 cut off, 12 button. He's only opened 3 from 25 buttons. That's not sample size related. That's just him being a real fucking nit. And then 41%. So this guy's got like basically, I open these hands from all positions. That's what this guy's doing. He's shit.
Yeah.
He's 20-16-6. On the face of it, you're like, oh, this guy's not too bad. But he's fucking dog shit.
Yeah.
He's just got the same range of hands. He opens from all positions. He hasn't bothered to learn that you open less hands under the gun and like you get really wide on the button. He hasn't bothered learning that stuff. He's just fucking rubbish.
Yeah.
So the first thing I'm thinking here is if he's probably opening similar ranges from all positions, then ace queen becomes a much stronger hand here versus middle position.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a mandatory 3-bet either way, but I think it's an even better 3-bet here versus this villain than it would be against, say, This guy, who's only opening 10% for middle position. So this is a shit tail, by the way, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we do go. What on earth is that sizing? Square?
Should be 9, shouldn't it? Really, I think.
Yeah, it should be 9 or 10.
Yeah, I was just thinking that should be 9 before you even press that.
Yeah, I use I got a 10 versus 3, but yeah, 9 or 10
Yeah.
is the size that you're gonna. I think you're gonna see GTO Wizard wanting to use. It's gonna see this as 2.5,
Yeah.
and it's probably gonna want to see you go 7.5, but it's gonna want you to 3x.
Yeah.
That's the nuts and bolts of it. He now 4 bets, which is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Because this guy's just a pretty fucking huge nit. Where is his 4 bet? 4 bet after raising. Actually, he's only had 5 opportunities. He's done it twice.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not folding and we're not going all in.
I did pull up. I seem to recall pulling up his stats and had a look at that. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I was never folding here.
No. I don't think we can. And it's terrifying because the guy's a fucking nit, and this is going to be aces, kings, ace, king at a remarkably high frequency. But we have position. We just can't. We can't 3-bet fold this hand.
No.
And going all in would be an absolute torch.
Yeah.
So call's the only option, isn't it? I think by default. You did a good flop.
For once, I did a good flop.
Did do a good flop. I'm giving you 2 ticks for this flop. It's very good. He checks. He should just range bet here.
Yeah.
This is an awful check from Villain. He should just be range betting like quarter pot. Something like that. Maybe even smaller.
So when he checks, do we have leads here? I pretty much have 0 leads here, but I think I don't know. I think maybe I should be leading here with this hand. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a mandatory bet from us.
Yeah.
Mandatory, really small too.
Yeah.
You know, at the minute he's saying, I've got pocket kings.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Mm.
I've got pocket kings and I'm not happy about it. We don't need to make large bets. There's no urgency to build this pot. We've got a SPR of less than 2. I would literally be betting really small. I'm interested to see what Theory does here versus check, because I'd be going really, really small here. Like less than 1/3. Way less than, maybe 20%, maybe even 10%.
I've got a feeling I'm probably going to check back here. I could be wrong, but
you did check back. I don't think it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
Because there's no urgency. We can still get all the money in.
Yeah.
Turn 6. Brilliant now leads. So do we spring our trap yet? Do we raise or do we just call?
I think most of the time here I will just be calling.
I think as played, call. We're not worried about flush draws because unless he's 4-betting king, queen, diamonds, king, jack of diamonds, king, 10 of diamonds, which he can be doing in theory. King, 10 of diamonds should be 4-betting here some of the time, but good for him. You know, he's also got lots of other stuff. I wouldn't raise here. I wouldn't be too worried about a diamond. I would just call, which is what you did. That's a bad river.
Yeah.
That is a bad river. Pocket kings now gets that might play this way. Would now lose to ace king. I'm deeply, deeply unhappy about that river.
Yeah.
Villain now checks. Now this is interesting. This is interesting. Because I think, what would Theory? I think Theory will just check here.
You're probably right. I think on his check, I'd probably jam here, but that could be horrible.
But maybe Theory doesn't check, because if he has aces, ace, king, or kings, maybe he should just jam himself. So when he doesn't bet, does that mean ace, queen's still the best hand? I mean, I'm nervous about this here because I just think like there's just too much chance Villain has pocket kings exactly.
Yeah.
But if that's all I'm worried about, then I think we have to jam.
Yeah.
Because what if he has king queen? What if he has like king queen of hearts?
Mm-hmm.
Which seems unlikely.
Yeah.
Does he have Jack 10 in this line? Maybe, but probably not 4-betting that. Oh, I've got to make a decision before I put it in the replayer. Am I checking, or am I wimping out and checking, or am I value jamming? And I'm checking. I've decided I'm checking.
I think.
Which might be weak, and we could be both about to make a mistake here, because I suspect you're going to check too. Or do you think you're going to bet?
I think I'd probably jam here, and I don't think I like it.
Oh, you did.
I don't know.
I'm just not sure we get called by enough worse hands. That's my issue with jamming here.
Yeah.
I think we've probably got the best hand at a pretty high frequency. Anyway, let's see. He did fold. I'm not surprised to see him fold because he's got like a, if he had a good hand, he would just bet it because he's like, by that stat there. Let's have a look. That's interesting. So we do have an inaccuracy somewhere. It's on the turn. Our inaccuracy is, I guess it's wanting us to raise the turn.
And like you say, it's 7.5 there, which is, like you say, it's treating that as 2.5, isn't it?
Yeah. So it wanted 3x, so we should have been like 9 or 10 here.
Yeah.
Not at the end of the world. And then, as we thought, just absolutely pure calling, nothing else to talk about. Flop, he checks. Check back is not the highest frequency play. Like, he wants us to bet quarter.
Yeah.
I think I was saying I'd bet, like, really quite small. I'd have been somewhere between these two.
Right.
So, like, I would have chosen the highest frequency play in terms of, like, sizing. It wants small. It does do a little bit of half and a little bit of even bigger, but I think generally speaking for me, like, it's wanting small 50% of the time.
Yeah.
So I think if we just use like checks and small bets here, checks and small bets as our default line, even with our bluffs, we're not going to be doing too much wrong here. Not that I can't think of many bluffs we could have in a 4-bet pot, but I think that's fine. Turn, he leads. It does want raise.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised it wants raise either.
Yeah. No.
I mean, I would personally just default to calling, but. And you can see calling's not losing that much EV.
No.
And we can catch up this EV on the river anyway. So fair enough. You've got any inaccuracy here, but I'm really not that bothered about it. And then river, it's wanting non all in, which is just like what you want, mate. I don't get that.
No, I don't think I ever make that bet. 47. It's all in or check. Maybe that's wrong, but
but my check was a massive blunder. I'm being a fucking huge wimp here, and I'm not surprised because
I thought you would, cunt.
You could absolutely, and you'd be fucking right to as well. So I want to see, like, on the river, what different calls it has. So river, we use. Here we have these two sizes. We have bet 41. Villains calls look like that, and if we have bet 66, how much does calling raise change? I guess he has. Why don't he have? I don't understand this, right? No, because when we bet 41, he's jamming his aces.
Yeah.
When we bet 66, he's calling with them, isn't he? Because we can't jam them.
Yeah.
But in terms of hands we beat, ace jack, ace 10, ace 5, king 6. Do we lose any of them when we go all in? No. Queen comes into like calling that was also check raising, but we don't lose any of the calls. So I'm not really sure why it's favouring one over the other. It's favouring I mean, we're going to get stacked by these hands anyway.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, then we're just missing value from this portion of his range that we're beating. So I don't understand that. Maybe someone cleverer than me can explain it, but I don't fucking understand it. And I think I would just default to jam. I mean, when I wasn't being a fanny and checking back.
Maybe he's 4-bet something like jacks there pre.
Yeah, that would make some sense. I mean, the turn lead would make a lot of sense, but or maybe he's like got a hand like King 10 suited, King 10 of diamonds, King Jack of diamonds. That's then that sin his turned equity. He's had a little bet, been called, and then if I had to guess his hand, I'd say it's going to be King X flush draw.
Yeah.
I would guess, but who knows? Who fucking knows? And it doesn't matter. He folded. Finally we got a fucking real hand.
And now, right before you click on it, yeah. So the 6x open is interesting. The 6 big blind open, from a guy who doesn't do a lot of opening. He's quite passive normally. Now, interestingly, the stats on the guy in the big blind are very different to what I had, because I had a much smaller sample size, and these are obviously your stats overlaid in here. So I'm not sure you'll like what I do here, but I think I just flat here. Sorry. No, do I flat here? I think I do. Which
if you do flat here, you are right. I am not going to like
it. I could be wrong here. I might be thinking of a completely different hand, but yeah. I'd like to think I raised this.
I think that if you're flying here, it's because you think villain 18 is going to squeeze a lot.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Is he going to squeeze a lot versus 6x? Probably fucking not.
Yeah, but if it's the hand I'm thinking of, the stats are very different, and as I say, over a much smaller sample size. And I had a feeling I wanted to keep him in, so I could be wrong. Might be.
I mean, this guy does do a reasonable amount of squeezing from the big blind, to be fair.
Yeah.
Just more than population for certain. We'd like compare him to somebody else. Please don't let this make me look a cunt. Squeeze just 12 there, so yeah, but it's not. But the squeeze percentage typically is lower than the 3-bet percentage.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's by the by. I don't like this at all. If he's 6xing,
yeah,
and he's playing 25-8, he's probably just got a good hand.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. That usually here, like we want a 3-bet 4x or bigger. I don't want to do that here because there's not as much. He's 6xing for a start. He's also only got 80 big blinds.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need to go 4x versus this. I think we can significantly adjust our strategy here and just resort to like a 3x, because what I don't want him to do here is make any fucking hero folds.
Yeah.
But if we go to what our size should look like here, we should be going up to 24, 26, 27 blinds, something like that, which is 4 and a bit X over the button open. It's overkill. I would just massively deviate from that here, and I'd probably just 3-bet to 18.
Yeah.
Maybe even 17, 18, something like that. And just make sure that the guy doesn't fold, and then we've got a really lovely low SPR going forward. Let's see what you did. You just skipped to the next hand, apparently. Because the person controlling the buttons is a fucking idiot. So you did just flat here. Yeah. I'm not a fan, to be honest.
No, I didn't think you would be.
We get a fantastic flop. Check. Right, so okay, what do we think we know about Villain's range right now?
He's got a good hand, hasn't he? I mean, he's got kings, queens, something like that.
So what should we do?
We should be raising.
I'd literally go all in here. I just think the guy's got 9s, 10s, jacks, queens. He's desperately trying to protect them. I'd just literally go all in. Maybe non all in. I mean, if he had like more chips, I wouldn't go all in. But he's only started with 80 bigs.
Yeah.
He's just like absolutely blasted this flop, which is the act of a man who's shitting his pants or is jizzing in his pants, one or the other.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't. If you went really fucking milky here and just went to like 27, I wouldn't hate it. Raise 27, jam turn. I think it's either raise really small and jam turn, or just jam now. And actually, now I've had a bit more time to think about it, I really like the milky raise.
Yeah.
Like raise 27, doesn't matter what the turn is, it's irrelevant, and then just go all in.
I think we're getting a blunder from Reg here.
Oh yeah, we are, because Reg just fucking pressed the wrong button again because he's a fucking asshole. It's fucking not easy being me. You really are fucking letting the rope out, aren't you?
I just don't. Something in game. I just felt that the best way to get all the money here was just let him hang himself. Really.
No, it's worked. Fair enough. Fair
I'm
enough.
not sure maybe why this one's in here. Maybe because of the small blind flat. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think whatever happens there, we're getting all the money.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, you probably don't like it as.
I think there's not much point putting this in the thingy because A is starting with less chips and B is used such a ridiculous opening size that TV is just going to be like, "What are you fucking talking about, mate?" And it's going to there's no point putting this one through. I actually like your line. I think I don't have any issue with it. You've taken a different line to me, but that doesn't mean to say that it's worse. I mean, if you just wanted the guy to just keep, if you were worried he might fold a hand like this, and you wanted to just keep him with the aggression, I have literally no problem with it. I'm not gonna. I wouldn't have done it, but it doesn't really say that your line's any worse than mine would have been.
No, I mean, I'm trying to think back now. I can't remember exactly, but it's either a read on villain 18 or villain 20. I mean, I would never. That's just not a thing I do ever. But there's definitely a player read on one of these two players, and I can't remember for the life of me what it was.
Okie dokie, no bother. Can anyone guess what the next hand is, by the way?
Just pause it and so we can just have a look at the villain names, because then I'll probably know.
Yep. So Simon confirms he's seen this guy blast off, which is why he went with this. This villain is renowned angle shooter and, in my opinion, borderline cheat. Nemezidia, for anyone who watches or plays 25 on a snap, Nemezidia, whatever you pronounce it. He's one of these cunts who does the one big blind and a 100 big blind thing, because when people are playing in cash and not big blinds, it's a bit of an angle shoot. Easty explains it on his streams. Basically, this guy is a cunt. I think he's from Belarus. He's just a scumbag. So anyone who is watching this, if you ever get a chance to slow roll Nemezidia and you'd like just a little bit of social justice, slow roll that cunt at every opportunity, because he is, without question, one of the biggest angle shooting cunts in the pool. And I'm a man who likes a nice angle shoot, don't get me wrong. But when I see people doing it, I'm like, yeah, punish him. But I love an angle shoot myself. Anyway, we're on to the jack set I've tried to look at twice already. So we had a min race from under the gun. Take it away, sir.
Yeah, obviously 3-betting here up to he's a smaller open.
You say obviously. I think there might be some flats here too. There is going to be a higher. The 2-tick option is going to be the 3-bet for certain, but I wouldn't rule out there being some flats here, that are like lowish frequency.
Okay. I think in all probability I'm probably going to bump this up to about 7 here. But yeah, because I wouldn't. I would expect if I'd flatted here that you would give me a blunt.
No, I wouldn't flat. I'm not saying I would flat here.
No.
But I think that in theory, I think there will be some flats here with jacks.
Okay.
At a low frequency. Maybe I'm fucking wrong, but I'm sure I've seen some range charts where jacks flats buttons are like a very, like maybe 20% of the time, something like that. But I could be wrong. Yeah, I have no issue with his size. It's 4x, but he's only min race, so fuck him. No issue with this whatsoever. Pick up the cold call here, which I know we talked earlier about calling small blind being a thing. This isn't.
No.
So I think we're going to have a problem here with looking at this in GTO.
Yeah. It's a shame, really.
I mean, maybe it'll still work, but I doubt it. I think this might be a non-existent spot.
There's still only 2 people in the hand, but I don't
know. So he checks. Go on, sir.
I don't like the cold call. I mean, the guy, has what? He's 6. He's 3-bet. Oh no, it'd be a 4-bet anyway.
This is that shit reg, same shit reg from earlier. His stats have updated. Oh, they're exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's the same shit reg. He's just a bad player.
Yeah.
He's just tight. He's not a winner. This guy will not be winning in this pool. 0% chance you can win playing the way he's playing in a fast fall pool. He's a losing player, but he's just a tight losing player.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see a bet here. Probably 50% plus.
Yeah, I think I like large bets here. It's a bit disconcerting. If he'd called and he'd folded, I'd be very confident in nailing my colours to the bet 75%.
Yeah.
Without question. We've got an overpaired, it's drive, like dryish flopping, not loads of his hand improve. Obviously, you can have sets. Shouldn't have 2 pair very often, etc. We can still get loads of value. If we bet 75%, 7s has to call, 6s has to call, 9s has to call. 10s has to call. So I think I'd be very confident in my. When we do bet, we use 75%. I'm less confident here because this shouldn't be in here. These shouldn't be there. What are you doing there, sir? You fucking idiot.
Yeah.
But I'm still just going to go with right, okay. Well, I'm probably just going to go 75%, but that could be a mistake. You went with half.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
Villain, what a fucking cunt of a sizing this is.
Yeah. I'm not loving it, but I'm not folding. At this stage, I'm just going to call here. I don't, yes, I'm behind. I mean, if you're flatting, you see plenty of people flatting 9s here to a 3 bet. I just, yeah, I don't like it, but I think I've got a call.
I suspect you are in enormous trouble here.
Mm-hmm.
Enormous trouble. I wouldn't rule out him having even like pocket aces here.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like called, hoping villain 21 reopens.
Yeah.
Sets, if he's flattened, if he's cold called his small blind, he's going to be the type of player who's going to have all the sets here. He's also going to have like the king queen suited to the world, the ace queen suited to the world that wouldn't do this. I think this guy's just going to turn up with the set almost all of the time here. I mean, we can't fold.
No.
It's disgusting. But I think we're in massive, massive trouble.
Yeah.
We do call. He checks. Okay, now what?
Check.
Yeah, absolutely. We are not reopening this betting. It's a bit weird that he's gone for the check small raise and check.
Yeah.
So maybe if we're really lucky here, he's just got fucking pocket 10s, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
Or he was just arsing around on the flop and he's just giving up.
Yeah.
So we do check back. River 9. I like that 9.
Yeah.
I like that 9 a lot, in fact. Villain checks again.
Yeah.
So now the question is, do we have a value bet?
I against this specific player, I think it's too thin. I don't think there's any harm in betting 25 bigs here and folding, but against this player, I just think it's a check back here and see. I remember this guy in play, and he was turning up with all sorts of stuff that has us beat here a lot of the time. So I was a bit nitty here and decided to check. I think I just don't think, because he's raised that raise is just in my head, and against this specific player, I think he's got us beat a lot of the time.
Here's where, in my opinion, HUDs are coming to their own. And if you tailor your HUD with some specific stats like I've got, it can really massively help you. Because to me, my initial reaction here is this is an absolute slam dunk mandatory value bet, without question.
Yeah.
Unquestionably a slam dunk value bet.
And I absolutely don't disagree with that at all. But in game, this player was doing some weird shit.
The reason for thinking that is that he's gone for the check raise and he hasn't continued betting. So I don't think, in theory, he's got a lot of strong hands. I don't think pocket 8s plays this way. I don't think pocket 5s plays this way. I don't think quads plays this way. Maybe quads does, but that's the only one. I also don't think overpairs play this way. So I just think a lot of the time he's going to have pocket 7s, pocket 6s that are just like fucking around on the flop, pair plus cut shot, just trying to get some cheap folds from ace king or whatever. Who knows what he's trying to fucking do. I think you can have some, like maybe jack queen, jack 10, although we block that very fucking hard. There are still 2 combinations of each. So I think this should be a bet, but the thing that turns me right off it is these guys' river stats. He's got on the river, he's got he falls to bets 80% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 times he has called a bet, he's won them both.
Yeah.
He wins after calling a river, he's won both. And he's also got this river won at showdown after betting 4 out of 4. So this guy, he's not value betting thinly enough, because if he was, he wouldn't be 4 out of 4. This number would be lower. I mean, he's had 17 attempts, chances to bet the river. He's only took 7 of them. He's won every time when he's been called, which tells me he's like not value betting thinly enough. He's not bluffing enough, and then it also means he's probably, because he's not value betting thinly enough, he's probably got some stronger than expected hands in his checking range.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, I wouldn't want to value bet versus this exact villain, but against many, I would.
And this is my exact thoughts on this guy. This was my thought at the table. Just felt against this particular player, a value bet here it was too thin.
Yeah, against this exact player, I'm inclined to agree. But I think in theory, it's a slam dunk value bet.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, just fuck you, mate. He deserves to win the minimum there.
Yeah.
He called 4 bets there. You're all in. He stacks you.
Yeah.
And this is why, when I confidently stated this guy is not winning in this pool, this is exactly why he's not winning. Because he's just absolutely stinks at getting value, and he's not bluffing enough. And yeah, and he's check calling that river pure. So we'd play aces the same way here. But only on the river, we'd jam aces, and he would never fold this hand.
No.
And this is why he's not winning in this pool. Because he's in this spot here, he should be stacking jacks, and he's not. But he's always losing the max versus aces and kings.
Absolutely.
And like when we've got a full house. So yeah, this guy's just really, really shit. Yeah, there's much point in looking at that one in theoretical world, because he's turned up with a non-existing combo, and I'd just be like, fuck you, that doesn't exist. I'm not talking to you, mate. So we have a button raise here. This is one of those hands now, I think, that you could pop into a flatting range.
Okay, that's interesting.
I'm interested to see what frequency theory is doing. There's 2 reasons for me. Number 1, small blind can have flats now. Whether this hand does it, I don't know. But number 2 is look at the state of this fucker in the big blind.
Yeah.
You ain't getting squeezed. And if you are, it's just by a very good hand, so you can comfortably fold.
Yeah.
You're just going to get to see a flop here. As far as I'm concerned, when he's in the big blind, I'm in the small, I've got 2 big blinds.
Mm-hmm.
And I would never fold this from the big blind. I would never 3-bet it. So I'm going to adopt my big blind strat. I'm going to look to my left. All right, I've got this prick there. In that case, then I'm just going to use my big blind strategy here, not my small blind strategy. Now, I think Theory's going to 3-bet this close to fucking pure.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like 90+% 3-bet. Maybe it pops it into a flatting range. I don't know. But I'd say like the default line here is absolutely going to be 3-bet. But I don't hate flatting, because I think this guy's just going to let us get away with it. But that's just how I play personally.
Yeah.
I know it's theoretically incorrect, and it's an adjustment I'm willing to make personally. I just think it's just how I like to play. Well, I know you're going to go with the 3-bet here, and I'm not going to fault it. I like the size 2. He calls. Okay, then. That's interesting. I already know what my line is. What's your line?
I think I can do both here. I think, knowing myself here, I'm probably checking more than I'm betting, but I don't like it. I think I probably need to be betting here.
I think here, this exact hand wants to do a lot of checking.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we've got our strong hands here, we want to be betting. So when we've got aces, kings, queens, etc., I think we want to be betting somewhere between 1/3 and half pot. Because in position, out of position, we just don't have the 75%. We just use smaller sizes out of position. And this hand in particular, we could get, of course, we've got decent equity. We could just mirror that strategy with our overpairs with this hand. But with this hand exactly, I much prefer going for a check raise, because 2 good things can happen. Number 1, he can check back, and we just get to realise some of our equity for free. Number 2, we just get to play our hand in a really simple, straightforward way, which is check raise. If he jams, we're like, okay, time to get there. And if he doesn't, we can just rip. If he just calls, we can just rip the turn. So I would play this as a check raise personally, but I'd have no issue with c-bet either. But let's talk more about what you were thinking, because I'm very confident in my strategy here that I'm going to check raise, and it's one I'd use all the time with a little bit of betting too. But you were sounding a lot less confident in what your line was. So let's just go through that again. Sorry.
So I think the majority of the time here I check, and Interestingly, check raise possibly doesn't come into it, which is a weakness, I think, and maybe a bit of a leak. So I think, yeah. Oh,
Excuse me.
got to get one in now and again.
I love your reactions to my farts. They're tremendous. You almost sound like fucking hell, Reg. As if you're not offended by them, but you're like, Reg, I wouldn't do that.
I'm
But I don't
just
give a fuck.
disappointed if we don't get at least one in.
Right, back to the. Oh, fucking hell. That's
Yeah,
not nice either. It's a good job microphones can't pick up orders, sir. That's all I can say. Right, go on. Sorry, I digress.
I think I check call this line far too often. And I don't find the check raise, and that I think is a problem.
I think it's a big problem.
Yeah.
Because if we're not check raising this, what are you check raising?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think yeah.
And we can quite easily balance that out by just checking some good hands, a small percentage.
Yeah.
Like when we've got aces, kings, queens here, we're going to have a pretty high frequency bet for like 1/3 half, but we're also going to be having a few checks, and then we just check raise those hands, and we check raise hands like this as well.
Yeah.
It's really easy strategy to balance. Anyway, what did we do? We did check. Willen did check back. Turn 9. So now what should we be doing?
I think we should be betting here.
Yeah, I think we should bet, and I think we should use big sizes
Yeah.
with our entire range here. When he checks back, we still, because if we're balancing properly and we are sometimes checking aces, kings, queens, etc., we still retain some of them in our range. Yeah, I think at this point now, this is just a mandatory. For me, I'd go 75%.
Yeah. I think if I bet here, I'm probably not that big, and that again could be a problem. But let's see what I do. Oh,
You check
yeah,
again. This is too passive, sir.
I don't like that.
And Villa now puts us in the bin.
Yeah. You might see a raise here, which I'm not sure is good or.
I don't know what I like here anymore.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't double check aces or kings here very often, I don't think. If I did, then I can get behind jamming this because I would definitely jam them if I'd check them twice.
Mm.
But I don't think I would. Yeah, you put yourself in a bad spot here,
I
fella.
have, yeah, absolutely. Don't know. I don't know what. I've got a feeling I'm going to call here, and I think that's the worst option of the three.
No, we can't fold because we've got too much equity.
Yeah.
So it's not the worst option of the three. Folding is the worst option of the three.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair.
It's just whether we call or raise.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're going to see me call a lot here.
Yep, we are. And river we break out, we check, and I guess we just either check and lose or fall to a better guess.
Oh yeah, I'll be calling there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the reason that's in there is probably because talking about the check raise options or betting, which we have done. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think bet or check raise flop. And once we check that flop, I think, and then don't lead the turn, we've just butchered it, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's butchered by there. I think checking flop is fine, and it checks through, but then we have to find the turn lead.
Yeah.
So that missing the check raise is one thing, but then not finding the turn lead is something different.
Yeah.
But you said you also work with a check raise, so I think you'd be too passive in general here.
Yeah, that was I've played it way too passive.
Your overall strategy here was just way too passive. Like, all right, I've missed. Let's just try and make a hand.
Yeah.
Rather than, well, okay, but my range here is still doing really fucking good. I retain all my overpairs, both in the check and bet line, so we can check raise because I've got overpairs in the check raise line, and I can bet turns because I've got overpairs in that line too. And we can also bet because we're going to want to bet our overpairs at high frequency, which means we can also bet this hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we butchered it on the flop.
Yeah.
And the turn here. Well, no, we haven't butchered the flop. Sorry, but the flop as played is fine. But then not betting the turn, in my opinion, is a big mistake.
Yeah.
Whether it is in theory or not, I don't know. But I think in practice, I think you've been a bit too weak here. But let's see.
Ooh, blunder.
Yeah, we've made a big blunder here somewhere.
Yeah.
We've proper fucked it somewhere, fella. Yeah, there is a tiny amount of call pre.
Yeah.
And I would extend that because of who's in the big blind. So I'm happy enough with my pre-flop thoughts. But obviously you've taken the best line. checking half the time, then it's betting 50%. It actually does have 75% bets here, which when I was looking yesterday, I was having a chat with Tommy last night, and I'd been seeing, maybe this is a very different board texture though, to be fair. Maybe it was to bet bigger here because there's so many pocket pairs in his range that you can get value from. Maybe there's more urgency to bet bigger here. If this board was a bit higher, maybe there'd be less urgency. So maybe this, like, because I was seeing a lot of 1/3 and half. Now it's going half and like 3/4 quite a lot. So yeah, this will be to do with William just having more hand. Like he's gonna have more sixes, sevens, eights, nines, etc. Whereas when it's 9 high, is sixes, sevens, eights aren't as good, etc. Probably stuff like that. I don't know. But anyways, we go with the check, which is fine. William checks back. Yeah, we just have to have leads on this turn. Overbets too. Look, it's not even fucking around. It's just like straight into overbet territory.
Yeah. And that doesn't surprise me at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah. This is where it comes non-existent GTO spot because we just never, ever, ever check here.
Yeah.
Which I'm not at all surprised by personally.
Yeah.
And it's a really easy thing for you to implement.
Yeah.
You know, when you've got a hand like this in the future, when you've got a hand where you can either check, raise the flop, or bet. When it goes check, you just know now, right? Well, okay, we just default into big bets on turn.
Yeah. And I really like that as well. I just hate the way I've played this hand. So I really.
Yeah, well, you're learning though, and that's the most important thing, isn't it? You know. Fine, you have butchered this one. It's the worst hand we've looked at today, but that's why we do this. That's why we do this work.
Yeah.
And that's why you were talking before we went live. You were talking about, is it worth getting this for a month? And with your volume, probably not. But if you can afford it as a hobbyist, I think you'll get a lot from a $50 spend. For 1 month, I think you'll get a lot of education from it, but also just a lot of enjoyment too. It's fun to do it, and it's also educational. I think as a one, would I say to you pay $50 a month at your volume? Doubt it. No. But as a one-off. And then maybe if you find you enjoy it, and then next month you don't mind spending 50 again because you can afford to, then why not do it again?
But if it's also having a positive impact on results as well, that's it begins to pay for itself a little bit, doesn't it?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, you need to play a higher volume than you do for this to ever pay for itself. So you need to be getting more than just a bit of increased EV from it. You need to be getting, I actually enjoy doing this too. Because then it matters less, you know. It's no real difference then to, I'm going to show my age here now, renting a video out or something like that, you know. You've got to spend your money on something.
We're in the same boat.
Sorry, mate?
I said we're in the same boat.
Yeah. It's like, I get that, you know, the nerds and the fucking assholes and the... I don't know if you watch the Only Friends podcast. I really like it. They call like all these nerds, they call them Svens. Juice and I call them Dimitris. They call them Svens, which is like the nerds who are like, oh, you know, they bollock you for missing the slightest bit of EV here and there, and they suck all the joy out of the game. Those sort of people would be like, why are you spending $50 a month on it when you only play 8,000 hands a month? You're wasting your fucking time, you're wasting your money. But if you enjoy, like if you get 10 hours pleasure from using it, it's $5 now for pleasure. It's no different to fucking renting some off Amazon Prime. It's no different to go to the pictures. It's no different to go to the pub. You know, if you just want to spend some of your like expendable income on GTO Wizard, even though it's increasing your EV but not paying for itself, that's up to you. And I'd say the same to anyone who's watching this. If you can afford to pay for it, then just do it. Because even if it's not going to pay for itself, if you've got to put other elements in there, it's going to long term improve you. So eventually, it might pay for itself. If you ever increase your volume, it'll definitely pay for itself. And sometimes it'll just make you enjoy your hobby more. So why fucking?
I like it. It's good.
So yeah, we got one more hand. Let's do that one. King. Open. So last time we were in this spot, we went 12x. Oh no, that was cut off versus button, wasn't it? So hopefully we're going to see 9 or 10, but you used 12 last time. Who knows what you're going to use this time? Yeah, you got 12 again. So that isn't a mistake you've made like through like a concentration. This is actually like, remember we talked a couple of videos back about you going 4x, but that was like out of position. looks like you've just translated to that. Fuck it, I'm just going 4x all over the place, Reg.
Yeah, 3x.
3x, 3 to 3.3x in position, 4 to 5x out of position.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I picked that up now. That's
He
that.
does call. He hasn't yet folded to a 3-bet.
No.
He's folded to 0 from 8. So actually, maybe it's an exploit against this player. This is really good.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been
Even though,
thinking about it like that.
no, of course not. But maybe, if you've got these players who have like a really low fold to 3-bet, then there's two things you can do. Well, there's a few things you can do. You can 3-bet them less, and with them far more linear. So you're doing more cornering against them and less 3-betting with like the area side of your 3-bet range, or you just build a more linear 3-bet range, and you can also just like 3-bet them a little bit tighter and just use larger sizes just to exploit the fact they never fold. Lots of ways you can adjust to these players. Okay, that is not ideal. He checks. So now what, sir?
I'll be checking here. I think I know we've got equity with the flush draw. But I think it's a check here. I don't know. I mean, we can, but again, it's monotone. I don't think there's loads of bets here.
Now I'm checking this back.
Yeah.
Sure. Don't know what Theory's doing, but I'm checking this back 100% of the time. If I had King Queen off with the club, maybe I'd start betting that a little bit. But yeah, this just seems like the easiest check back in the world to me. See what we did. Turn 10, villain checks again.
I think we can bet here.
Okay.
What
size?
Well, because he's not shown any aggression here on flop or turn. So I think we can go. I think 20 big blinds is okay here. I mean,
okay. So you want to bet 20 big blinds in order for him to call with what?
Yeah, well, I don't. As I say, I was just about to say, I don't think that's the play. I think it's probably smaller. So I'd probably, in all reality, I'd probably bet a third here.
Yeah, I wouldn't even bet. I'd still be checking.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
It's a disaster if we get raised. It's an absolute disaster. And his calling range, he can't have the king of clubs. He needs to have like jacks with the club, queens with the club. Maybe jacks and queens with that club have to call too. But like nines with the club probably has to call. Eights with the club maybe has to call. But I think this is... Yeah, I don't like it. I wouldn't bet. I'd wait for the river to bet, I think. He calls. We river the nuts, or effective nuts as far as I'm concerned. He just leads out of nowhere. Yeah. Okay. What are you doing?
I'm all in. I'm not worried about boats here. I'm all in. If he's got a boat, fair play to him. But I just want all his money at this point.
Yeah, I like all in too. I would jam here as well. I think he's never going to fold the queen of clubs here. Maybe never going to fold the jack of clubs. Yeah, I like it. What? What are you fucking talking about, mate?
I mean, I wasn't expecting that to call. I'll be honest with you.
I'll have a day off, mate.
I mean, but yeah, I think the reason that's in there is I'm just not. It always felt like Jan was right, but obviously pocket aces as his beat, pocket tens as his beat, but I just think I think his stats again probably for me were a little bit fishier than that, but they are still, he's 29-19. Yeah, I just felt it was all in, and if he's got me beat, then so be it.
He's just another shit reg, isn't he? Yeah. I mean, deuces isn't a raise under the gun. No. It certainly isn't a fucking and I suppose once you've opened it, maybe you have to defend it. But then you made it 12x. I mean, this guy's just butchered it. Then the river, no fucking clue what he's doing. I think that the mistake, if we're going to have made one here, is going to be with your turn bet. I think if Theory's not going to like something you've done here, yeah. I imagine it's not going to like the turn lead. But we'll see.
Do you think that's turn, probably?
So we have an inaccuracy. I think it's going to be the turn, but let's see. Yeah, it was the turn.
Yeah.
But it's an inaccuracy. It's not a wrong move. So that means it does bet. It's just not doing it at a high frequency. So it's actually wanting some bets on the flop too, because we only got one tick on the flop. So it's wanting 1/3 and half. Don't think I love that. But I guess it's just thinking it doesn't have much ace-x in its range. And its ace-x also can't raise us. So probably why it's allowing itself a little, treating itself to a little bet, I imagine.
I mean,
Um,
I have 0 bets there
yeah, me too.
at that point. I just have 0 bets there.
But interesting that with kings, with the flush draw, it is allowing itself some bets.
I mean,
That's because it just doesn't have to fold to a raise, I guess.
it bets more than check, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Which surprises me.
I'm a little bit surprised too, but again, this is a real beauty of doing this, because like you just learn things, and things that are quite easy to stick to too. Because this to me would always just be a check back. I'm like, well, okay, I can't get much value here from many hands. I don't want to start building a pot this early, etc. But this is saying no, actually, you can just like bet this flop, and you actually should be betting this flop. So that's an easy thing to take away and put into our game. Turn. We went with this just a sizing thing. It still wants bets as played. It's what in 1/3.
Yeah.
So my checker game would be 2 passive here, even though I'd be in 2 tick territory. Ironically, even though you've actually done the highest frequency, you bet here, which it wants more than checking. I'd still be in like all tick territory here, and you wouldn't be, which is a fucking shame because you've theoretically done better than me, but I'm getting more ticks than you. We do go to bet. He calls, then river. Yeah, it's obviously all in. So well played hand from you. The turning accuracy was only based on sizing, not frequency.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Happy days, and that's all the hands.
Yeah.
So that's good stuff. So yeah, the takeaways from this session are this 3-bet sizing position.
Mhm.
We just need to tone it down. I'd just say 10x versus 3x, and versus 2.5x, 8x versus min raise. I'd just go 8x too.
Yeah.
So I'd make 8x your raise versus 2.5 and less, and 10x your raise versus 3.
Yeah. No,
Or like if someone's in there doing that annoying 2.75 thing or 2.8 thing or whatever, just basically 2.5, 8, anything more than 2.5, 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in spots where you're on a flop where you get the option to check raise or not, and you decide to lead or check raise, if you've got a hand that you can like mix between betting and checking, and you decide to check, and it checks through on the turn, just remember that is now a mandatory big bet.
Yeah.
And they're the 2 key takeaways from this session for situations that will repeat quite commonly that you've now got a better line for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is delightful. So it feels like we've learned a little bit, made a bit of progress. So
yeah, very much.
That is awesome. Thank you for that, Squire.
Let's hope we've recorded my audio.
Well, I did a practice beforehand. I played a UFO song on Spotify and sang along to it. And I could hear the song and me, so hopefully it works. But if it doesn't, at least you and I had a nice chat.
That's it, yeah.
Perfect. So there we go. That's the end of the chat with Simon. Sadly, he said some really nice things to me after I stopped recording that I wish I'd captured on fucking video, but never mind. He did say how helpful these are being and how he's feeling like he's improving, even though it's not showing his results yet. He said a few nice things. We didn't catch them. Never mind. We're out of here now. I'm off to record Wednesday's video. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye for now.